Podcasting from somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area, the birthplace of Bruce Lee, the iPhone, and the bendy straw. This is Ruel's Running Podcast, a podcast about running, health, family, play, and an NSNG lifestyle. And now, here's your host, Ruel.
There was a dream a million miles away. There was fire in
Amazon.com. You know, I won't be surprised if more and more stuff that I shop for, buy, and get shipped to my home comes from Amazon. It's just a reality, right? And if this is your reality, go to ruelsrunning.com, click through to the Amazon banner to get to Amazon. Why am I asking you to do so? Well, it is a no-cost-to-you way. If you like listening to Ruel's Running Podcast, it is a way that you can help the show out without spending more than you've already spent while shopping at the good folks at Amazon.com. So help us out. Go to ruelsrunning.com, click through to the Amazon.com site, and shop, connect, and enjoy. Hey everybody, what's up? It's Ruel Aberdam, your friendly neighborhood podcaster. It's been a while. I had to sit down with my cup of coffee to record some stuff, follow up with you guys, see how you all are doing. Oh God, I picked up some coffee at a nearby Starbucks, and I really appreciate it when, and it throws me, it surprises me. I go to the Starbucks. The last time I was there, I stood in line, a short line. By the time I got to the register, the guy behind the barista already had my drink ready. It was a coordinated effort between him and his partner, his coworker. They remembered my drink, and you know, it isn't a Starbucks like a real Starbucks. It's one of those Starbucks in a Safeway supermarket Starbucks. So I don't spend any time hanging out, doing any work at that location, and getting to know the staff like I have in a different location. So to get there on that day and to have my drink ready because they had remembered me, paid attention, was a nice feeling. So today was another day, and there wasn't a line. I walked up to the counter and the guy was looking at me. He had his hand ready on a cup because he was anticipating my order, and I just looked at him. I'm like, guess. Just guess what I want. And he knew, but I gave him a bit of confirmation. I just said, yeah, just give me the tall one, and then make sure there's that splash of heavy cream. And he's like, I don't care. I was like, really? Because today's my last day anyways. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, right on. Well, why don't you just call me an a-hole? I'm not going to complain. It's not going to matter. And we laughed about it. Yeah, my throat's still kind of weird. You know, it's been, I've been taking, I've been taking over-the-counter allergy stuff to deal with allergy stuff. And one of the things I'm taking, and I've talked about it before, was that Flonase product, that nasal spray. And I'm not a fan, but I am a fan. I'm a fan because it works. It works until it doesn't work, right? And so, right now, I am flipping through my bag because one of the other things I take is a Zyrtec. So, Flonase nasal spray and then this tablet. So far, I've been on top of those allergy symptoms this way. I don't like the idea of having to take all this stuff. The other thing I do is the eye drops. And it's like I don't want to be dependent on products, right? I'm just trying to pull open this little thing so I can get access to my tablet. There you go. In my mouth. I'm gonna wash it down with some coffee. Yay! So I guess that's a little bit of health. Ta-da! Welcome to Ruel's Running Podcast. The podcast about not just putting one foot in front of the other, but other things like health and food and family. Whatever you gotta do to get running whatever you're doing. Yeah. Now, I have a ton of stuff that I want to talk through, and I want to talk through it real quick because I'm on a cognitive decline and I won't remember anything. The advantage of the podcast is I get to sort of record and not have to keep committed to memory. So, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Lita for completing her half. What's up, Lita? Lita's a friend of the show for quite a while and a friend on the Vinny Tordrich No Sugar No Grains Facebook group. Congratulations, Lita, on your half. Yarn Sniper, you rock. Speaking about people who rock, took the family to a Build-A-Bear. If anybody's familiar with Build-A-Bear, it's a place in a mall, in some malls. It's a chain where you can go to custom create a stuffed, not just a bear, other sort of stuffed critters, not real critters, play critters. And, they're pretty intricate these days, from my understanding. They used to just be basic bears. Now they've taken advantage of things like having Star Wars bears and Ninja Turtle bears, and they're not really bears, but just stuffed turtles and stuffed other things that are outfitted to look like the popular characters, like Transformers. There's this bear that has Optimus Prime or a Bumblebee costume, and it has a hat or a hood that you could turn inside out to become, a Transformer face. Anyways, so took the family there. It was for my son's classmate's birthday party. Pretty neat. Never been at a Build-A-Bear where it was so intense because, and I didn't realize that you can have or host parties there. So, yeah, it was pretty neat. All the kids got to sit in a circle, get instructions by the staff, get to pick, a certain number of. The host parent got the RSVPs and predetermined how much of the bears were going to be actually gifted to the party, the kids in the party. So my son, and anything else, like if my other kids wanted something, that'd be out of our pocket. But it was neat. They went through the whole process as you would as an individual, but it was in a party format, and a lot of attention, and it was pretty awesome. And I bring it up because this is one of those cases of sort of like nice bystander sort of story or situation where an old man was hanging out at the store. I was hanging out at the store too, with my daughter, just sitting on. We have this double stroller, and I can just about fit on one side of the double stroller. So I was hanging out, sitting on my stroller, parked inside the store, with my daughter, who was seated on the other side of the stroller. And she, her mom, my wife, bought her something from the store, so she was holding on to the box of her Build-A-Bear item. And weird way to put it, but an older man comes over and he asks my daughter, so what did you get? Asking, just having small talk with my daughter. My daughter was a little bit shy, strange old man talking to her. But I was trying to reassure that it's okay. He can ask, she can reply, say, yeah, I got this kind of bear, and it's dressed up this way. And the old man and I got to talking, and he asked how many other kids I had. And it eventually led to, I can't remember the details of our conversation, but it did lead to exactly that. How many kids do you have? And then he said the oddest question. Do you ever go to, he asked, Costco? Right? I'm like, yeah. So why do you ask? Then he reached into his pocket. I'm thinking, all right, this guy's is a big-time executive for Costco, and he's going to give us a complimentary something or other membership. That's where my head was going. He pulled out his wallet, he flipped it open, and he pulled out some cash. Pulled out $2, exactly. 2 $1 bills. And he gave it to my daughter, and he told her to go to Costco, tell her daddy, me, to go to Costco, and to buy a berry sundae with 5 spoons. Because he had asked how many kids, and he calculated how many in the family. There's 5 of us. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, really? Yeah. So he wanted to treat us, complete strangers, to a treat. And he specified it being at the Costco, and he specified it being this Sunday, a Sunday, and how the family can share it. And that was $2. So, so we took the $2 and we thanked him, and was kind of pleasantly surprised and shocked and left in wonder. I mean, and then he kind of went on with his business. Now I remember what we were talking before that. Now I don't. See, cognitive decline. And now I don't remember what it was. Oh, and now I do. See, now it's back. Whew. It's just, it comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. One of the things that he asked my daughter was if I was, because I was sitting in the stroller with her, if I was her older brother or or her dad. It's funny. So, nice guy. The party was wrapping up, and the old man was still there, and my wife came over to us, and I told her what happened, and she was kind of emotional about it, that a complete stranger would offer that kindness. And so, as I was saying, she was got a call on the phone, and it threw off the whole recording. So I had to start a second recording to continue. That's so yeah, she was kind of got a little emotional by that act of kindness from a complete stranger. And so we lingered a little bit longer at the store as the party wrapped up. We got together with the host of the party, basically my son's classmate, her mom, his mom, his dad, and older brother. And it turned out the old man was the birthday boy's grandfather. So, I think the old man's, we'll call him Irving, because that's his name. I think his initial thought was he would throw out that kind gesture and then, walk off into the sunset. Because it's cool that way. But, we were still all in the same location, so
I asked him, like, what's the story behind the Sunday? And we talked about other things too, like what he used to do, and I can't remember how he tied it in, but I think oh yeah, okay, now I see it's back. Okay, first regarding what he used to do. He used to work for the federal government as he used to do background research, background checks at a federal level. So he was sort of like an investigator to some degree, and I can relate because I used to do that same type of stuff, but not but from private levels. But he's got, in his career it would have been, a great, like, a security clearance and all this stuff. And so it was fascinating. He brought up the question to my wife, if there was one thing, because we were holding the phones, if there was one thing that she wished the phone could do in the next 10 years, what would it be? And I thought it was a trick question. My thought was like, oh, there isn't really anything that we need to have out of our phone. It's just a nice to have, but it isn't a need. So, my wife responded with something along the lines of being able to read your thoughts. So if you wanted to make a call, just think you want to make a call, and then the thing starts making your call. But then he brought up what he used to do, because he says, well, that would be a problem if for folks who have, like, I used to work in the federal government with all this security clearance and all of this background information, blah, blah, blah. And that could be a problem for me, because the phone he'd be thinking about some past stuff, and then suddenly it would reveal itself on the phone. So he doesn't need a mind-reading device. That's how I got to understand where he was coming from. So, anyways, back to me asking him what's the story behind the Sunday. And the Sunday story was, this guy's probably, I don't know, 70s, I don't know. And maybe his 80s. But he said when he was 9, so he can remember as far back as his youth, he, I guess he was coming home from school, stopped off at a store. And, a complete stranger said, hey, I think it was maybe it was a strange, an older kid, I don't know. But even if it was an adult, if you can imagine, there was a different time where, in your neighborhood, in your community, a stranger within the community can talk to you. And you wouldn't have this fear of danger. So, a stranger offered him to come into the store and had him pick out a piece of candy, and the stranger paid for it for him, and went on his business. And that put a lasting impression on this man, this now grandfather, that there was this act of kindness of someone just treating him to something, a complete stranger, and just leaving it as that. And so when the old man offered us the $2 and for the Sunday, he was also talking about, I have this tradition, and he pulls out his wallet and money and yada yada. And so I was wondering, why is it a tradition? What's the story behind the Sunday? He says, well, I was a kid, and this happened and that happened, and so ever since, he made it a tradition to be able to do those sort of acts of kindness to complete strangers, in hopes, not expecting, but hopes that, it can sort of continue on. And, we've heard this type of story before. Acts of kindness, good karma, whatever you want to call it. And, I'd like to think that, it isn't like I'm going to do something nice and expect nice to happen to me. I think that, I like to think that, folks who are listening who have that, in them, whether it be consistent or intermittent, they leave those impressions on people that they interact with. I think I have in my time, and it's like I'm saying goodbye. I think I have done all of this in my time, and I'm at peace. Signing off. But it was pretty awesome. And so, have I gone there yet with the family? No, just haven't been around to it. But pretty sure when we do get to visiting, we don't get to Costco as often as we used to, because the main reason for going to Costco was to pick up a box of diapers from there. And our youngest is potty trained for the most part, and there isn't a great need to cycle through the diapers as much as we used to. So I think when we finally do, we'll remember, there you go, let's go pick up that Sunday now, let's go, the kids can share it. And I told him that I'd take a picture and send it to his daughter, the mom of the birthday boy, and let him know that happened. So, and that's this episode. No, I'm just kidding. But I just wanted to share that acts of kindness, and it's pretty awesome. Never had it given to us, sent this way, that in that form or fashion. But I am a liar, because I did have an act of kindness. It was actually another act of kindness brought my way. It was, it was solicited, so it's different. It's not so much a surprise, I talked about if anybody's interested in helping me, pay for my next event, that's out there. Folks can donate on the website, and I've received an act of kindness through that. As a result of that, you just want to give a shout out to Daniel. You know who you are. And Daniel Weston from Daniel, I'm an idiot. Wales? I'm an idiot. But yeah, good friend Daniel, he's been on the show. And Daniel is, I like to describe as Speedy, simply that, Speedy. He reached out to me. He said, "Hey, just wanted to let you know I did this, and just don't send me the sticker, because the donate feature on the site is, you donate a predetermined amount, I'll send you a sticker, as long as it doesn't cost more to send the sticker your way than the cost of the sticker." He says, "Don't send the sticker. Just use the donation to go towards that the next event," and I will. Thank you, Daniel. So that was the second act of kindness. You guys are awesome. I really, really appreciate it.
Coming up, Rue gives us something else to think about. How vague is that, Ruel? Geez. Could you be any vaguer, Ruel? Well, it's all coming up on Ruel's Running. Okay, the book is called Eat Happy, Gluten-Free, Grain-Free, Low-Carb Recipes for a Joyful Life by me, Anna Vicino. Eat Happy has 154 delicious grain-free, gluten-free recipes that are also free of any processed sugars. There are meats, fish, sides, soup, starters, casseroles, slow cooker recipes, breakfast dishes, and even desserts to satisfy any sweets craving you might have, all with virtually no sugar. If you are low-carb, paleo, are wanting to keep autoimmune issues at bay, or just want to lose extra weight, Eat Happy gives you comfort food where you won't miss the sugars or grains, so your body and brain can feel happy from eating real food. Okay, go get it then. Now's your chance. Yay! Yay!
But I want to move on to not so much an act of kindness, but it's not. It's just I don't know what you would call it. I'll describe it. Past weekend, the family and I were at an outlet mall, which has a pretty awesome play area, and I've talked about it before. We call it the dinosaur park because a lot of the theme of the play structure, the theme of the park the dinosaurs. And it's early in the evening, late in the afternoon. We'll call it dusk, and most of the folks are quickly leaving the mall, the parking area, and we parked across the parking lot. We'll just say from the play area, and we could see on the perimeter of the mall property a lot of cars are just lining up to get out to leave, and it was a pretty busy day. And we're in a section of the parking lot that's practically empty. I mean, it's really empty except for our vehicle across the parking lot. And the family and I, 3 kids, my wife and I, are walking towards our vehicle, and we're sort of, if you can imagine, like a row of, the parking lot is in rows, right? And you drive in each of these rows, and you pick a spot left or right, wherever you want to park. So the thing is empty. We're at the end of this row, on the road, basically, the drive, the thoroughfare. The road, the spot where the cars have to drive. But it's empty. So we're at the end of the row where it basically cuts off. You either will have to go left or right, but if you go straight, those are where there are parking spaces, and our vehicle was right there. So we're in the middle of this, empty area, making our way towards our vehicle. And pretty quickly, between the curb, the islands that separate the sections, and from where we were in the middle of the road, a black Prius sneaks on through between the curb and my family. And I say sneaks on through because as folks who are familiar with those electric vehicles, they run quiet. And I was carrying my daughter, and it was just a matter of me turning to my left and seeing this car sneak on by, literally beside us. I could have stuck my leg out and hit the vehicle. Or, as kids often are, sporadic, spasmodic, and just bolt off, in any direction, because they goof off. Had any one of my family members, reacted goofily, unknowingly, and kind of, went the wrong direction, the car would have made contact with any one of my family members. And as it kind of rolled on through, I kind of yelled out, like, hey, like, kind of without the WTF, just a hey in the spirit of WTF, and for folks who are new to this podcast, I apologize, but I don't apologize. For folks who are familiar with this podcast, familiar with me, you know who I am, you know what I'm about, you also know that I'm colorblind. So for me to paint a picture, I want to paint it in black and white, and it's not negative. It's just for me to paint a picture because I need to. From what I can tell, it was the driver of the black Prius was a careless, selfish, young Indian woman who didn't even slow down, gesture an apology or a sorry, just sort of wanted to hurry her ass as quick as possible to cut into the line of cars that were making their way out of the area lined up at the perimeter of the parking lot. Okay? And, and this is the funny thing, right? It got me thinking about, who the heck am I, right? Am I racist? I don't think I'm racist. I just need to paint that picture. And I think it's important, because there are going to be folks out there who had their own experiences with people and say, yeah, that description helps paint a better picture so that I can relate better with what Ruel is saying. It's not about a race, it's about an individual. And that individual was a douchebag. And that's the other thing. Douche. The term douche or douchebag, is that a unisex term, meaning when you want to refer to somebody who is acting douchey as a douchebag, is that male or female? Like I don't know, like stewardess, or woman, man. Like, is it douche? You can call a girl a douche as much as you can call a guy a douche, or is it douchette? I don't know. But anyways, I got to thinking about myself, like, who the heck am I, right? Well, I'm this kid. Well, I'm not a kid. I'm this guy. I'm this man. I'm this father whose upbringing is from a Filipino family, but not brought up in the Philippines. Brought up on Guam. Have the privileges of being an American citizen, a U.S. citizen, because the island of Guam is a U.S. territory. Had access to a lot of news and media and stuff that is purely, mostly, American. I grew up around a culture on the island that is the Chamorro culture, which is near and dear to who I am. I'm not of Chamorro descent, but I do have relatives who are Chamorro. So, and to this day, the last I checked, there's a large percentage of Filipinos on the island of Guam that live on the island of Guam, and it's just like a snippet of what America is, right? Or a large, or just the world. It's just we're a mix of from different regions, and so Guam is just another snapshot of that. But Chamorros, Filipinos, other cultures around that part of the world, they share similarities in upbringing and culture, things like respecting your elders and all that good stuff. And so here I am. I'm, I talk the way I talk. I look the way I look. I've come from where I've come, and here I am, now living in the United States, watching this young Indian-looking woman kind of sneak on through pretty closely with her car, and I'm upset about it, right? And and I guess this is where you can call me racist or an idiot or whatever you want, but part of me, to be honest, was like, fuck, man, this is America. You gotta act a certain way. You gotta follow certain rules, right? This is not like some Asian city where there is no delineation or separation of lanes on a road, and you can drive whatever speed you want. Fuck, man. And there's kids. Are you an idiot? There's kids here. You can't just sneak on through like that, like you're, like, fuck, what's wrong with you? Yeah, I was upset, and I had to, yes, I wanted to curse at her. I wanted to, be my old self and find a padlock and throw it at her car. Padlock. Don't do that, people. But that's just saying, don't do that. And because she found herself in the line of cars, she was like stop and go pretty kind of at a crawl. I wanted to like stand beside her car and just, show her some choice fingers and, and yell through her window and, maybe take a selfie. Just stupid stuff. But, I was carrying my daughter and I had my 2 other kids, had my family. I can't be that selfish to express my anger in front of them, putting them at risk of whatever can result of me just kind of flying off the handle. Again, she was right there. Still no, like, I apologize, I'm sorry, or, oh, excuse me, I wasn't thinking, I'm an idiot, And for all I know, and I called her Indian, right? She looked Indian, but she could have been somebody like me who, is born with the privileges of being a U.S. citizen. She may have never stepped foot on, in India. She could just, this is all she knows. She's probably just more Californian than I'm Californian, more American than I'm American, So it's just kind of stupid, It got me thinking. And speaking of stupid and not thinking, past episode or 2 ago, I talked about, having a car under repair. My wife was driving, got rear-ended. That's all said and done. That's, the vehicle got repaired. We returned the rental vehicle, and, all is good. But guess what? My wife got rear-ended a second time. So guess what? I'm sitting in another rental. Not as bad, but it was, it was just the unfortunate carelessness of a new young driver. It was a girl who was trying to take a right into the lane that my wife was on, trying to switch lanes, and my wife was, participating with the rest of the commuters on that morning. It was a side street, so it wasn't like anything fast moving, but the girl took her eye off of for a moment, didn't realize my wife was slowing down, and the girl tried to pull into my wife's lane behind my wife, and the right corner of her truck hit the rear left corner of our vehicle. So my wife was by herself, but by this time she wasn't as freaked out. She texted me like, I got rear-ended again, but she had gone through the motion. She knows what to do, and she knows what needs to be done. But it's like, so yeah, fun, right? I can imagine the young girl. She said my wife said she was trying to not be late going to school, and again, just thankful that nobody got hurt. Everyone's able to walk away and go home and be wherever they need to be. The girl had to call her stepmom over the phone to try and figure out what to do, because she had never been in that situation. So I can imagine, pretty nerve-wracking for a young driver. Awesome. Real quick, I mentioned playgrounds, play structures, and I just want to point out, because it happened recently, and it's kind of it's a pet peeve of mine, and probably is a pet peeve of yours too, is especially if you live in California, where smoking in public has its place, and it's usually away from buildings, entrances, and such, right? But we're at this mall, and it's one of those outlet malls, so there's a lot of outdoor walking area, and folks who are from here enjoy it. Folks who aren't from here usually come by bus, because they're tourist groups from Europe and from Asia, and they operate. They're familiar with a different way to operate as far as smoking, and they figure, and I can relate. This is an outdoor spot. I can smoke right here. No, you can't. You're too close to an entrance. You're too close to a lot of stuff. There's some designated smoking areas. So whoever coordinates the tour groups do a crappy job of not informing folks about that. The mall themselves do a crappy job of not enforcing it, right? The security folks there, I don't even know what the heck they do, right? But quite often there's people smoking in the middle of the walkways, thinking that it's cool, but it's not. And what annoys me the most is when we have folks who aren't tourists, they're local, and they are smoking their cigarettes at the edge of the play area, the play structure, the playground, So when the wind catches that stuff, it just kind of spreads out across the play structure. All the moms and new moms and parents and kids are just sucking it in. It isn't going to kill anybody. Personally, it annoys me, and there are times where, I've just went up towards people and said, smoking section's over there. There's no smoking over here, and people have moved. And there are times where I just wanted to say, who the fuck smokes practically in a playground with kids these days here, right? So I'm just left with, trying to not suck in as much of the smell, kind of hard, but at the same time, giving bad looks to people. Yeah. I think I need to teach my kids to tell folks like that, like, hey, what are you doing? That's gross. By the way, there's no smoking in this area. Have them sort of be the informants, be the messengers, and then I can be there to observe and figure out what's going on. If my kids get mistreated, then that gives me reason to step on somebody's head. Don't do that, people. Don't step on anybody's head. Yeah. So, there was a long weekend that passed. Just want to move right along, more family chat, and it was awesome. Went to a theme park, a non-profit theme park. So we get to pay for an annual pass and have it, whatever, do a tax deduction off of it. It's a good cause. Place is awesome. It's called Gilroy Gardens in Gilroy, California. And the way we roll is we pack up lunches like we're doing a picnic. We get to the park. This is a secret trick, guys, when you have little kids. And we get there right when they open. And have the kids already dressed down in sort of like swim clothes, and they get to play with water and go to the pool and all that stuff. Then just before lunchtime, we get everybody sort of wiped down, and we head out of the park, and we grab our lunches and set up at a picnic table out right outside the entrance, enjoy lunch, and then have the kids sort of dry off even more and change into dry clothes. Finish up lunch and make our way back, re-enter the park and enjoy the rides and other things. So we did that. That was sort of, this is just a little bit of a drive to get there, like an hour or maybe less, maybe an hour to get there, and then head home and then do it again the next day. Take advantage of the pass as much as possible. And the cool thing about that particular theme park is, they are smack dab in the middle of nature, and they have this thing called circus trees. For folks not familiar with circus trees, there are ways that you can creatively promote the the trees to shape into fun things, fun ways. Using techniques too, like grafting and whatever. But if you guys look up circus trees, they're kind of freaky. If you look at the circus trees of Gilroy Gardens, you'll find out that the creator of the park had acquired a whole collection of these circus trees early on and had them transplanted in different parts of the park. So one of the cool things you can do when you visit the park is grab a little map, which has illustrations of the various circus trees, and it's a cool thing to kind of keep an eye out for, a tree that looks like a weaved basket, or a tree that its trunk had somehow split into four and creates like a frame of a cube, and then back into a tree. It's just the freakiest stuff. The kids really love it, they enjoy it, and it's always a nice thing to say, I spotted one, I see one, and then there's a tree that's, the trunk of the tree is basically an arch and a walkway. It has two bases, and it kind of merges into a single arch, and then a single rest of the tree right on the top, on the middle. Pretty cool. My son said the other day, being silly, we did some volunteering as the school year ends. The kindergartners have a field day where they get to do games and stuff outside, and my wife and I went over and we volunteered. And after it was all done, my son was just kind of saying silly stuff. He's like, "Selfish. Selfish means you're selling fish." So, what? Something I've observed, and you guys can call me racist again if you want, but it was just another one of those things that I see out and about. At a mall, and there's a woman who looks like she's Chinese. And Chinese has nothing to do with anything but but then you'll get it when I get to it. I can leave it out, but then again, it's me painting a picture, and there's a reason why. And the reason is you'll get to it. So there's a woman sitting on a bench. She happens to be Chinese, and she has a toothpick picking her teeth, and she's using one hand to pick her teeth with a toothpick, and the other hand to sort of cover the fact that she's picking her teeth. Has like one hand hovered over her mouth while she's picking her teeth, hiding the fact that she's picking her teeth. God forbid we see that she's using a toothpick, because we're going to think it's disgusting. Meanwhile, another Chinese woman is, just out openly in full display, digging deep in her nose, like digging her way to China or something, right? Am I racist? No. Why do I have to say she's from China? Or Chinese? Because my observation is that, every time I've seen somebody dig the crap out of their nose, it's at a stoplight in another vehicle, and the person is Chinese digging their nose, no, who cares if I'm digging my nose, right? Or it doesn't have to be in a car, it's just out and about, just like at the mall. And as far as the covering toothpick picking, I've seen that a lot of times, and the Chinese folks, and I apologize to the Chinese folks, I'm generalizing, but I'll say not folks, but individuals. There are these individuals who happen to be Chinese. I don't know why. You can kind of make your own guess. Cover their teeth when they're picking their teeth with a toothpick, yet not covering their nose when they're digging the shit out of their nose. Right? Guess it's just a personal preference that is common among certain individuals. It's my racist episode. Meanwhile, I'm just curious. Like, why would a person, and this is not having to do with the individuals who look or happen to be Chinese. There are individuals who pick their nose, are amused by what they've pulled out of their nose, and even more amused after they've put said stuff picked out of their nose into their mouth so they can eat it. I've seen a lot of kids do that. Not all kids, but these individual kids happen to be Caucasian. I'm not saying all Caucasians pick their nose, but I just observe, right? And then there are the grown-ups who are like, it's a dirty little secret of theirs. They're picking their nose, and they're amused, and they stick it in their mouth. Nasty, I think. I mean, I don't know, I'm speechless, right? So yeah, I generalize, I guess. I'm not racist. I'm just colorblind, and I need to paint that picture. For example, I don't have an example. If you're offended, I apologize. You can click off. Folks who listen to me for quite a while know that I'm not. I'm just having to paint a picture. So, unless you mirror or do exactly like these individuals, then I can imagine you're offended. Oh well, I'm offended too. I'm absolutely offended whenever I see somebody pick the shit out of their nose out in the open. I'm offended too when somebody picks the shit out of their nose and sticks it in their mouth. I'm offended. So I don't tell them anything because it's not my place. It's just my place to be able to have the freedom to talk about it on this podcast. If you guys relate, I'd love to hear get your feedback. Provide feedback somewhere. So because this is a running podcast, I'll talk about running real quick. I hope to get a run in today. I haven't been doing as much running as I'd like to. I feel like I'm recovering from whatever lung issue that I've dealing with. But, the bit of running that I am doing seems to be running from train to building, building to train, or building to car. And, or if I can't get a decent run in, I'm just running because I need to get the heck out of the office and, take the outdoors. I just need it. I must be deficient in D or something. I need to get something. Awesome. It's interesting. I'm finding more and more events in my area, like 50K events in trails that I'm familiar with, that a lot that I have to think about, and also revisiting the solo missions again. I'm definitely, looking for ways to get myself out there. There's just been a ton of stuff been going down, from health to, dealing with accidents to the kids wrapping up school. Summer's about to start. That's a whole different logistical thing, On the surface, it's like, yay, you don't have to get up as early to do whatever. But hey, summer program's going to start, and it's going to be a different start of the day and a different end of the day. Yeah, and so that's all I got, guys. Last note. Yeah, I'm still struggling through my nutrition. I'm trying to be more mindful. I'm trying to be on track. I've allowed myself for a long time, and it's a learning process. There's a reason why that I'm where I am now. I feel I'm out of shape. I've been sick, so that's one excuse. I can still run. I don't think that's an issue. It's just, I have put on some weight, and And it's been confirmed because my wife has told me so, and the scale has told me so, and folks that I see out and about are like, hey, your face looks bigger. I'm like, all right. Maybe I can, make up an excuse. Maybe it's the medication that's causing me to be this way. I don't know. So, at any rate, I need to just kind of go through it, just like any other issue. If it's an issue, just go through it. And sure, the pants don't fit as good as they used to, but I'll manage, and I'll figure things out. On the bright side, my wife's been killing it in SNG. She has been killing it. I'm so proud of her. For years, it's been 4 or 5 years, I'm, the NSNG, in the spirit of NSNG, for as NSNG as I can be, fat adapted, keto, whatever you want to call it, fasted runs, no sugar, blah, blah, blah. And, she's seen me go through it, and she knows my example. But, she's made a shift from, your standard American diet, things that she loves that she has to avoid. She's gone through health issues to getting past them. And, she and evolved into, some fasting moments, a bit more exercise, paying attention to her hunger signals, and knowing foods that she should not be eating, she stays away from. And she's benefiting from the smoothies that I make for her throughout the week, the broth that I make for the week. She's benefiting also from supplements that she's been prescribed from her functional medicine doctor, and and also with the help of a medication that she needs. She's killing it. She's getting all of those good problems to have when you are on track. Things like, at some point, you're gonna have to buy some new clothes, kind of thing. So, for folks who are on are on NSNG and who have loved ones who you wish would be on it, Vinny Todrich likes to say, just sort of don't say anything. You just be the example, and just hope that they come around. And yeah, so it's awesome. So proud of her. That's my sweetie, my love, my wife, my honey buns, mother of my kids. Yeah, so with that, I bid you adieu. Please be safe out there. Don't get rear-ended, and be mindful. Don't drive your Prius right by a family of small kids. And when you do pick your nose, cover it and don't eat it. And I can give a shit if you pick your teeth while out in the open. Now, go out. Eat something delicious. Hug your family, hug your friends. And go run something. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Ruel's Running Podcast with Ruel. If you like what you just heard, share it with your friends and your enemies. Also, be sure to check out the site over at ruelsrunning.com. This has been another Coffee with Heavy Cream production. Join us next time for another silly show of Ruel's Running Podcast.